British Home Secretary James cleverly announces the UK is tightening immigration rules. Foreign Minister Wang Yi signs Book of Condolence for the late Henry Kissinger. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The British government has announced tough new immigration rules that it says will reduce the number of people able to move to the UK each year by hundreds of thousands. Daniel Rao tells us more.
British Home Secretary James cleverly said he was taking robust action to lower authorised immigration, which hit a record level of almost 750,000 people in 2022.
Migration to this country is far too high and needs to come down. And today we are taking more robust action than any other government before in order to bring this down.
Under the new rules, immigrants will have to earn more to get a work visa and will find it harder to bring family members to the UK. Prospective immigrants will have to earn £38,700 per year to get a skilled worker visa, a significant rise from the currently required £26,200.
We will stop immigration undercutting the salary of British workers. We will increase the skilled worker earnings threshold by a third to $38,700 from next spring, in line with the median full-term wage for those kinds of jobs.
British citizens who want to bring their foreign spouse to the UK will have to earn the same amount, almost double the current threshold. Health and social care sectors that are highly reliant on immigrant staff are exempt from the salary rule. However, care workers from overseas will no longer be able to bring dependent relatives with them to Britain. The government also said it would scrap a rule that lets employers in sectors on a shortage occupation list pay immigrant workers 20% less than UK citizens. Starting in January, most foreign graduate students will no longer be able to bring family members to the UK.
In total, this package, plus our reduction in student dependence, will mean around 300,000 fewer people will come in future years than have come to the UK last year.
Revised figures released last month by the Office for National Statistics said net migration to the UK, the number of people arriving minus those leaving, was a record 745,000 in 2022. The Conservatives believe cutting immigration will shore up votes ahead of an election next year. This, as many voters see immigrants as adding to pressure on already overstretched public services and worsening a housing crisis. Still, many economists say immigrants are needed to fill essential jobs, especially in healthcare and in low-paid social care roles, and that they contribute more to the economy than they receive. Daniel, TV News.
The UK Consulate General in Hong Kong has yet to respond on how tightened immigration rules could affect holders of British National Overseas or BNO passports who wish to apply for UK citizenship. Some immigration consultants say they believe applications will become more difficult. Currently, Hong Kongers carrying the BNO passport have to reside in the UK for 5 years and live there for a further full year before becoming British citizens. Some immigration consultants said successful BNO applications dropped from around 96,000 cases in 2021 to around 57,000 last year, and that the number of inquiries by Hong Kong people about moving to Britain have dropped by some 40% this year. Foreign Minister Wang Yi today visited the U.S. Embassy in Beijing to pay tribute to Henry Kissinger, the former U.S. Secretary of State who died on November 29th. Accompanied by the U.S. Ambassador Nicholas Burns, Wang wrote a message in a condolence book. The two recalled their meetings with Kissinger, who had lived through generations of Chinese and American leaders. Wang told Burns that Kissinger was good at finding common ground from the differences between Beijing and Washington and creating opportunities for cooperation. Burns said Kissinger played a key role in U.S.-China relations.
Secretary Kissinger was the pivotal figure from the American side in U.S.-China relations over 50 years, dealing with every leader of the People's Republic of China, from Chairman Mao Zedong until President Xi Jinping.
The Registration and Electoral Office has opened 4 mock polling stations across the city to allow residents to familiarize themselves with the updated voting procedure. The mock stations are located at North Point Community Hall, Kwun Tong Community Center, Tai Po Community Center, as well as Chun Mun Cheng Choi Street Community Hall. Meanwhile, the Social Welfare Department has sponsored $20,000 for elderly care homes to arrange transport for residents to vote on Election Day. Police have arrested 2 men in Wong Chuk Hang in Aberdeen on suspicion of producing explosives and performing experiments with them. They were charged with 3 counts of making and possession of explosives. The suspects appeared in court at the Eastern Magistracy and were denied bail. Authorities searched the duo's homes and seized a number of items, including axes and scythes. Officers found tools, including a homemade furnace and several chemicals hidden in a nearby hill, and suspect the 2 performed combustion tests. The force later seized around 30 kilograms of chemicals and bomb-making notes in 2 units in Ap Lei Chau and Chai Wan, where the 2 reside. The suspects are aged 33 and 34 and became acquainted with each other online. Still ahead, 2 mainland-made planes will pay a visit to Hong Kong next week. Bus crash in Thailand kills over a dozen people. A look at the plight of some babies who made it out of Gaza. Welcome back to TVB News. Chief Executive John Lee announced that 2 airplanes developed and manufactured in the mainland will be showcased in Hong Kong for 6 days from next Tuesday. Lee said he hopes the public can gain a deeper understanding of aviation development in the country. Memo Singhai reports.
The 2 mainland manufactured aircraft are the C919 and an ARJ21. The maiden flight of the C919 took place in 2017, with the first aircraft delivered to China Eastern Airlines last year. So far, the C919 has received over 1,000 orders. Meanwhile, the ARJ21 had its first flight in 2008. So far, 117 planes have been delivered since the start of commercial operation. Starting from last year, the aircraft also received overseas orders. The 2 aircraft will first be on display at the Hong Kong International Airport after arriving in the city next Tuesday, and then the highlight event. The public will get a glimpse of the C919 when it performs a fly past around Hong Kong on Saturday week morning. Chief Executive John Lee said he hopes local youths can increase their interest in the country's aviation development. In the past, other planes have performed fly pasts over Hong Kong skies, such as Cathay Pacific 747 before it was retired from service in 2016. The giant A380 also flew over the city in 2007. Mimos 9, TVB News.
The Housing Authority's first public housing project using the modular integrated construction method is expected to be completed by the end of 2024. Secretary for Housing Winnie Ho went to inspect the project at the Anderson Road quarry site. 3 blocks will be built using the modular integrated construction method. Tourists and locals have often referred to Hong Kong as a shopper's paradise, but the retail business nowadays is a far cry from the heyday of 2013, when a record high $498 billion in sales was generated. Speaking on a TVB program, Michael Cheng, a member of the Hong Kong Retail Management Association's Digital Advisory Panel, said the city is still a shopper's paradise because it retains the key advantage of price differential.
We have been selling very authentic products, very trust-related products to a lot of consumers all over the world. Apart from the what we call the authenticity of the products, price is always something that our consumers are very concerned. And Hong Kong has always been able to offer at least 15 to 20% discount as compared to the rest of the world.
But Cheng, who is the lead for consumer markets at PricewaterhouseCoopers, admitted the city's retail market has been affected by issues, including fluctuations in the renminbi. Overseas in Thailand, a bus crashed near a national park in the west of the country, killing 14 people and injuring others. A report by Thai broadcaster TPBS said the tour bus fell off the road and hit a tree near the entrance of Hat Manakoran National Park. The accident happened in Prachuap Khiri Khan province. Rescue workers can be seen at the scene where the bus is halfway off-road, leaning to one side. Rescuers removed passengers from the bus on a stretcher. The driver's seat can also be seen crumpled because of the force of the collision. Israeli warplanes heavily bombarded an area around Khan Yunis in southern Gaza as its military comes under increasing international pressure to limit the number of civilian casualties. Nazvi Karim has more.
Israeli troops shown in close-quarter combat with Hamas fighters somewhere in the Gaza Strip. The fighting is becoming more intense. So are the airstrikes as the Israeli Defense Forces begin their offensive in the south of the enclave. The Associated Press's analysis of satellite images has Israeli troops around 6 kilometers from the heart of Khan Yunis in Gaza's south as of Monday. Around 150 armored vehicles were identified, with Gaza health officials reporting hundreds of deaths since the end of the 7-day truce on Friday. Aid agencies are expressing concern for the hundreds of thousands of civilians trapped in areas such as Khan Yunis. Israel's military has called for a mass evacuation from Khan Yunis, asking thousands who have already fled from the north to flee further south to places near the border with Egypt. Under pressure from the United States to protect civilian lives, Israel has divided Gaza into numbered parcels. Residents are told which numbers are being targeted by airstrikes and where they need to move. Some commentators have described the scenario as dystopian, but the United States says it is an improvement on the northern campaign that kills thousands, mostly children.
What the Secretary made clear in our meetings with the Prime Minister and other officials of the Israeli government on Thursday is that we do not want to see a military campaign in the south that looks like the north. And what we mean by that, we do not want to see the same level of civilian casualties. We do not want to see the same level of mass displacement.
Despite these attempts at a more precise bombing campaign, the attack since October has rendered many areas in Gaza unlivable, says the International Committee of the Red Cross chief.
The majority of people I met today have been displaced several times. I met people who have lost limbs because they needed to evacuate between treatments, and they lost a hand or a foot because they couldn't be treated in the hospital where they arrived first. We have to find solutions to this. We can't turn away from what is evidently a moral failure in the face of the international community.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Dozens of premature babies were separated from their families as violence engulfed Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. NBC News takes us to a hospital in Egypt where some of those babies are being cared for.
Noor Al-Bana can't take her eyes off her little girl.
She's beautiful.
Her name is Leanne, she tells us. A moment this new mother once feared impossible, now overwhelming.
That was your first time touching your daughter?
Yes. I'm very happy, she says. Noor thought she might never see Leanne and her twin sister again. The girls were among some 39 babies separated from their families as violence engulfed the Al-Shifa hospital.
RPGs.
Israel, the U.S., and the European Union allege Hamas used hospitals to conceal its military operations and patients as human shields. Allegations Hamas denies. Days into the siege, doctors say the babies began to die. These images of the sick babies emerged from Al-Shifa. While at the evacuated Al-Nasser hospital, this footage of the remains of babies left behind. The Hamas-run health ministry says they were prevented from evacuating them. Israel slamming that as false, but also a perverse exploitation of innocent lives.
Back at Al Shifa, 31 babies made it out alive. A dozen brought here to a Cairo hospital.
They brought them for us with a very bad general condition. Now, more or less stable.
Dr. Mohammed Abu Sakin says all but 2 are alone. Dr. Sakin takes us to see baby Halema, known only by his mother's name.
What happened to his eye?
Removed, explosion. All the building, all the neighbors died.
Doctors say this is what baby Halema looked like when he arrived, now growing stronger every day.
During sleeping, I dream by this boy.
You dream of this boy?
Yes.
What do you dream?
A dream that is happy. This boy is happy.
Tonight, as the bombs drop in Gaza, that dream for all its children never seemed so far away. Erin McLaughlin, NBC News, Cairo.
China helped Egypt send a remote sensing satellite into orbit from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China on Monday. The satellite was launched by a Long March 2C carrier rocket. It will be used in assisting Egypt's land and rescue resource utilization, water conservancy, agriculture, and other fields. The Egyptian Space Agency said the launch of the satellite is significant for the space tech development of Egypt and the African continent, and that China has helped his country become Africa's pioneer in the space field. In New Zealand, Indigenous Maori politicians broke with protocol at the opening of Parliament. They pledged allegiance first to their descendants and the country's founding document before swearing an oath to Britain's King Charles III.
I, Rawiri Waititi, swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to our mokopuna, according to tikanga Māori. I will perform my functions and duties and exercise my powers in accordance with Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Toi tu Te Tiriti.
Parliamentarians must all swear an oath to King Charles III, who is the country's head of state. The 6 lawmakers who belong to the Te Pāti Maori, which is the smallest party in Parliament and represents the Maori people, each made a pledge to their descendants to Maori practices. That is the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.